Hi everybody, it's Nick here. It's been quite a while since I made a video, and tonight we'll be looking at Extraction. This is a movie directed by Sam Hengrave, who you probably haven't really heard of. It's certainly his first time in the director's chair. However, if you do, hang around for the credits at the end of movies, you probably saw him at most of the Avengers. He's an amazing choreographer, absolutely brilliant stunt coordinator, and his first outing as a director, top notch. I think a lot of people at university are going to be using this to see how you coordinate action stunt scenes. There's a 12-minute stunt scene in this that is just mind-blowing. It's one of these sort of pretend done in one shot. You can see a couple of the seaming together, when a guy sort of walks in front of the camera, you know that that's a cut, and then they sort of cut and then they do it again. But there's also some scenes where the camera goes into the car on one side and out the other side, and it's so seamlessly woven together. It kind of reminded me of Children of Men, when they're in the forest. There's a car scene where the camera comes in and moves around inside the car and moves out. There's a scene in Raid Redemption as well that kind of reminded me of this. In Raid Redemption 2, I think it was, Raid 2, sorry, one of the actual cameramen is dressed as a car chair, just so that they can move the camera around so you can't see the cameraman. So this is borrowing a lot of that and just running with it. I mean, the directing in this is pretty solid. You watch this because you like action. You do not watch this because of a story, which they try and put in here. You don't watch this for fucking love interest, because there are none, thank God. You watch it for the fun, visceral, raw brutality that is Chris Hemsworth, which you would never have thought of. Yes, he's great as Thor, and he has a big hammer, but you would never think of him as being a brutal actor.
Sometimes I do other things.
He is very much like a Jason Bourne meets John Wick. He is hardcore in this. He plays a character called Tyler Rake, that's right. So and then already it started. We've got comparisons between Tyler Rake and John Wick. Who would win in a fight? Oh, that's a tough one. I really don't know. I love Keanu Reeves and I love Chris Hemsworth. I don't know who would win in a fight between these two characters because they're both just personified aggressiveness. And it's just done so bloody beautifully. The story is there. There's a story. Basically, one drug lord's son gets kidnapped by his rival gang lord, and Tyler Rake is sent in as a mercenary to save him. He has got a sort of history of black ops. He also has a history that his son died of lymphoid cancer or something, which means that his charge, who is also a young boy, he suddenly sort of bonds with, and now he's not just going to get rid of the kid for money. He's going to look after the kid and protect him as best he can, and he certainly does. The movie starts in Australia, quickly moves to Bangladesh and Dhaka or something like that. Dhaka or something like that? Yeah, anyway. And that's where it kicks off. As I mentioned, the story's not really there, which is, it's weird how the story's not really there, because Joe Russo and his brother, Anthony Russo, along with two other people, I don't want to forget, leave them out here, Fernando Lee Gonzalez and Eric Skillman, have a cartoon called Ciudad, and this is based off the cartoon. So the screenplay by Joe Russo is based on a comic book. So I'm wondering whether we're going to get more of a franchise here. I wouldn't be surprised. This was quite an expensive movie for Netflix, for what it is. It's a $65 million film, and I'm pretty sure that they got that back. It is not doing particularly well on Rotten Tomatoes, which I'm quite surprised about, but I have my own theories. It's doing quite well on IMDb, which is, I think, on 7.5. Rotten Tomatoes was on 60, maybe even 50 the last time I looked. I haven't actually looked today. But I think that's probably because of the skewing of a lot of, well, not skewing, but the opinions of a lot of reviewers who are very sensitive when it comes to white male savior syndrome, which I suppose you can look at most movies, including John Wick, as being a guy who's trying to save a dog. In this over here, okay, it's not a dog, it's a human being, but nonetheless, it's still a white person doing it, and apparently that's bad. We can't have that these days. Yes, I suppose diversity is a great thing. One of the reviewers mentioned Man on Fire, which I kind of get irritated about, because the movie is not based on the person's color, it's based on the person and the guy and the actor. And in this case, Chris Hemsworth is a brilliant actor in this. He brings a broodiness to it, he brings a depth to it, even though the character's pretty goddamn one-dimensional. Because I think the actor is so likable, it makes it enjoyable to watch. I think he pulls it off very well. I don't think somebody like Matt Damon would have pulled this off at all. I said it just watching his Jason Bourne movies. First one wasn't too bad, and that's one of the things I liked about this. It's not too shaky cam. Don't get me wrong, there is shaky cam. It's difficult when the director stroke cameraman has a camera sort of glued or wrapped to himself, and he's running around jumping off things, and he's actually, one of the scenes is 12 minutes long, and as I mentioned, it's got to pretend tied together like one shot. And in the behind the scenes, you can see he's literally rigged to the front of a car while it's driving, and he leaps off the car and runs into a window. Absolutely phenomenal. So I mean, the action in this is way more enjoyable than any of the Bourne movies. And it kind of makes you wonder how Bourne didn't get it right. I mean, yes, it's brutal. Don't get me wrong, Bourne was brutal. This is brutal, but at least you can God, I'm going to sound like a psychopath. At least you can see what's going on in this, okay? That is a good side. That is absolutely good. Again, good side of things again is the cinematography is phenomenal. You have some decent actors in this too. Just not much story to go on, and certainly not much narrative to go on either. Like I say, it's right there. It's just action. On the other flip side of things, the bad side of things, the brutality can get a bit much in one scene. So I don't really agree with people saying this is an overly violent movie, because John Wick is overly violent too, and so is Jason Bourne. There's a scene, and this is a slight spoiler, I suppose. It's in the first 10 minutes of the movie, where you see a group of children, street children, one of whom apparently has stolen some money from a gang lord, and in order to find out who did it, the sort of second in command grabs a kid who is struggling and walks to the side of a building ledge and throws him off. I don't think I've seen many movies where a kid is murdered in front of you. I think this is maybe the first one, so it didn't really sit well with me, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't have children or anything like that, so I can imagine someone who has a kid, that would be pretty hard to watch. It's brutal. I understand why it's there. It's to sort of show how bad these people are, but I sort of do question whether we really completely needed that sort of attention to detail. Watching a kid struggle and then thrown off a bloody building, and then you hear him crash somewhere. Oh, yeah, it was quite hectic. So that was probably unnecessary. Number two, even though the action is great, there were moments where I suppose the special effects let it down. A bus crashes under a bridge and blows up, etc., etc. And you can see that the explosion was added in later along with the smoke so easily. It sort of stands in stark contrast to a lot of the very real stunts. Not to mention the fact that the plume of smoke that comes from said car is not even affected by a helicopter that's right next to it. So it just goes straight up and you've got a helicopter sitting here. We all know what would happen to smoke if there was a helicopter nearby. Fucking go everywhere. And lastly, I think on the negative side of things is, again, the story. It is pretty shallow. There's one or two moments where you think, oh, someone's stepping in to help. The obvious betrayal is there, and it doesn't come as a shock. But again, this is a movie that is made to be just an action movie, and we're going to be talking about this for a bit. I'm sure we're going to get a sequel to this. A lot of people loving it already, almost a cult following, I'm reckoning that's going to happen soon, much like John Wick is. And yeah, I would love to see another one of these. I really, really would. We might see another one, I don't know. But Netflix has actually hit it out of the park with this. I was very surprised. I thought this was going to be another one of those Three Frontier with Ben Affleck attempts at a good action movie, and Netflix does drop the ball quite occasionally. This is a great movie, and I think a lot of people are going to watch it. If you like your hardcore stuff, this is it for you.